David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, the breaking news. Moments ago, a deadly plane crash in the Bahamas. All 10 people on board killed. What we're learning at this hour. Also tonight, the terrifying scare at 15,000 feet. A passenger partially sucked out of the shattered window of a plane. His wife hanging on to him for dear life. Travelers on the packed jet looking on in horror. The flash flooding emergency in the Heartland triggering urgent search and rescues at this hour. A reported building collapse sending at least 10 people into the water. More than 21 million people at risk from the floods. Plus thousands of flights impacted by the storms. And this chilling sight, a jet veering off the taxiway after landing in the rain. Tonight, new questions emerging in the deadly ICE shooting in Houston. Homeland Security officials saying the man killed was not the intended target of their investigation. A major housing bill becoming law at the stroke of midnight, despite President Trump's refusal to sign it. Details on the historic bipartisan measure that aims to make homes more affordable. President Trump greenlighting a new round of talks with Iran, while saying the ceasefire is over. The administration's next move after escalating attacks on Iranian military targets. A new trove of UFO files released by the Pentagon. A look at the latest mysterious videos. The emotional words tonight from the parents of Nolan Wells, the new interview as they search for answers in their son's final hours. And America Strong tonight, remembering a pioneer of aviation, Wally Funk, leaving a lasting legacy in the worlds of flight and space travel, the challenges she overcame, and a decades-long career that soared to impressive heights.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us on this Friday. I'm Rachel Scott in for David, and we do begin with that breaking news as we come on the air. The back-to-back flight emergencies. A plane crashing in the Bahamas. We're hearing 10 people are dead tonight, no survivors. Wow. The fiery footage of the wreckage shared on social media. And over in Europe, a terrifying flight emergency 15,000 feet in the air. A passenger surviving after being partially sucked out of a shattered window of a Ryanair jet. Images tonight showing that window. You can see the sharp pieces of that broken glass, some shards still attached to the panel. Sources say his wife held onto his feet to stop him from flying out of that window. Soufi Burridge is tracking both of these developing stories tonight, and he leads us off.
Tonight, video just in showing the devastating scene after a plane crashed in the Bahamas.
Yeah, this is the plane crash in Angus, but he's been alive.
The wreckage still smouldering in the woods, parts of that small plane clearly visible. Officials saying all 9 passengers and the pilot were killed, including one person who initially survived.
To every family that has received the devastating news that someone they love will not be coming home, we offer our deepest condolences.
The Flamingo Air flight reportedly was travelling from New Providence to San Andros when it went down. It comes just hours after another terrifying mid-air scare on board a packed Ryanair plane after a passenger was partially sucked out of a window at about 15,000 feet. Video from inside the cabin showing oxygen masks hanging from the ceiling, a window completely shattered. The Boeing 737 jet leaving Greece early this morning, headed to Germany when the airline says a passenger window dislodged shortly after takeoff. The decompression forcefully pulling a 61-year-old man toward the opening with part of his upper body outside of the plane, sources tell ABC News. His wife holding onto his feet for nearly 5 minutes to stop him from flying out of the window. Passengers donning oxygen masks, the plane forced to make an emergency landing back in Greece. Its damaged right-hand engine and a gash seen here.
The video evidence is pretty clear here. We can see one of the blades in the engine that you can see as you look at the front broke free, went out the side of the engine and hit the fuselage right at the window where this person was seated.
Tonight, that passenger is now in an intensive care unit in Greece, sources say. And Rachel, with that investigation into that mid-air scare on that Ryanair flight underway, news still breaking on that fatal crash in the Bahamas. Aviation regulators there saying that crash follows other incidents involving the airline Flamingo Air. It has now had its operating license suspended while that investigation is carried out. Rachel?
A tragic and alarming day in the skies. Okay, Tom, thank you. We turn now to the catastrophic flooding emergency back here at home. At least 10 rescued from the water after a building collapsed in Missouri. Dozens of water rescues playing out across multiple states. Drivers stranded in rising water and pulled from their cars. Heavy rain impacting roads and air travel. More than 6,000 flights disrupted during this busy summer season. More than 21 million people at risk of flash flooding. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, a state of emergency in Missouri after life-threatening flash floods swept through the region. First responders performing more than 90 water rescues, many at campsites like this, helping campers and residents stranded in trees by the rising waters. At one campsite in Reynolds County, officials say they rescued a group of at least 10 people that fell into the water when a building collapsed.
I got stuck, as you can see behind me.
Amy Wiggard and her cousin Don were camping with a large group of friends and family in Lesterville. When she says before dawn, floodwaters rushed away their 8 campers and 3 other vehicles. Fortunately, everyone in the group accounted for.
We were just in total shock, didn't think this was really happening. We got out of the campers and the water was up past our knees.
Tens of millions of Americans now under the threat of severe weather from Colorado to New Jersey, where police on Thursday rescued this driver from knee-deep floodwaters in Brunswick. In central Georgia, these trees uprooted after winds up to 60 miles per hour tore through the state. And north of the border, this Air Canada jet with 156 passengers on board veering off the taxiway while landing amid a heavy downpour in Montreal Thursday afternoon. Passengers deplaning with the jet still resting on the grass.
And Rachel, all that severe weather still taking a toll on air travel. Nearly 6,000 flights delayed or canceled. LaGuardia Airport here in New York among the hardest hit with 10% of all its flights canceled. Rachel?
Okay, Morgan, thank you. So let's get right to WABC meteorologist Jeff Smith. Jeff, you're tracking that heavy rain and the flooding threats heading into the weekend.
Yeah, we have additional rounds of heavy showers and thunderstorms that will take us right into the weekend, hitting those same areas that were hit so hard during the past couple of days. Southeastern Missouri, all the way to parts of the Ohio Valley, all the way up into western Pennsylvania. Over 21 million people under flood watches into the weekend, 2 to 4 inches of rain over a wide swath. Also watching the possibility of severe storms with gusty winds, parts of Missouri, also portions of the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles. The extreme heat and humidity, the other big story over the southeast. Heat index values or feels like temperatures nearly 110 in a place like Charleston, South Carolina into the weekend. And talk about heat. Look at what's going on in the west. A massive heat dome building. And we could be breaking not only daily and monthly records, but maybe all-time record highs in a place like Billings, Montana. 111 for an actual temperature there by Sunday. Rachel?
Ooh, yeah, seeing a lot of triple digits out west. Okay, Jeff, thank you. We turn now to the deadly ICE shooting in Houston, Texas. The Department of Homeland Security admitting that a man fatally shot by an ICE officer was not the intended target of their investigation. A community is in shock tonight and demanding an independent investigation. Here's John Quinones.
Tonight, federal authorities revealing that Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, the husband and father killed by ICE agents while on his way to work, was not their intended target. A DHS official saying Araujo was stopped after officers observed a white van with an individual who resembled the target. Araujo's family sharing this video, showing him getting into his white van early Tuesday morning. ICE officials claim Araujo rammed a federal vehicle during an attempted arrest and that he was shot after he refused to follow commands. But witnesses inside Araujo's vehicle casting doubt.
All 3 of my clients reiterated that at no point was there ever an agent standing in front of the vehicle, nor was an agent ever placed in the line of danger.
It's a nightmare.
Araujo, the father of 3 sons, all U.S. citizens. The young men telling me their father, a Mexican national, had been in the country for almost 35 years and was close to obtaining legal status.
We miss him, and that I know that in his final moments, as fearful as he was for his own life, I know he was thinking about us.
Rachel, Homeland Security officials say the agents involved were in unmarked vehicles and were not wearing body cameras. Tonight, the Harris County District Attorney's Office says that anyone with video of this incident come forward. Rachel?
Okay, John, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you. We turn now to a major housing bill that's on track to become law at midnight without President Trump's signature. The sweeping legislation focused on lowering costs was supported by both Democrats and Republicans. Tonight, why the president says he is protesting the bill. Here's ABC's Selena Wang.
Tonight, that historic bill Congress passed with overwhelming bipartisan support aimed at lowering housing costs for Americans is set to become law at midnight, but without the president's signature. Trump says he's refusing to sign it in protest over the fact that the United States Senate is not capable of passing the Save America Act, his sweeping voter ID law that would greatly restrict mail-in voting. It comes just hours after the president forced out the last 3 members of the Election Assistance Commission, a bipartisan group put in place decades ago as a guardrail for election security. The president has tried to sow doubt about the election system and reshape how votes are counted ahead of the high-stakes midterms. This latest move shocking election officials across the country.
It's irresponsible and dangerous, and it causes chaos because we're not going to have the guidance, the bipartisan, level-headed, steadfast commission that we had that we could depend on.
Now, the White House is defending the president's decision, pointing to the Supreme Court's recent ruling that the president has the authority to fire the leaders of most independent agencies for any reason. Rachel?
Selena, thank you. Now to President Trump agreeing to another slate of negotiations with Iran and declaring that a ceasefire is officially over. It comes as U.S. forces ramp up attacks against Iran, hitting more than 170 targets this week. Here's Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, President Trump greenlighting a new round of talks with Iran to begin in Oman on Saturday, but doubling down on his declaration that the ceasefire is over. The U.S. ramping up its attacks this week, pounding more than 170 targets in Iran over 2 days. Images showing boats on fire in Iran's port city of Bushehr, in response to Iran attacking commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. But a senior U.S. official tonight saying that the Iranians said firing on the ships was a mistake, an errant part of the Iranian regime that was trying to undermine the deal. We screwed up. Let's keep talking. The threat from Iran is in part why President Trump flew home from the NATO summit in Turkey on the old Air Force One, officials saying there are differences in security capabilities with the new Qatari-gifted Air Force One. Trump himself saying he was a top target for the Iranians.
I'm number one on the kill list for Iran.
Trump has been considered a target since his first term when he took out the top Iranian IRGC commander in a drone strike. Reports this week said Israel provided intelligence about a new plot against Trump, but tonight the president is pushing back on that report. Trump telling the New York Post Israel came up with nothing, no, saying, "I've been number one for a long time."
But as for now, Iran and the U.S. are trying once again to work out a deal. But a U.S. official added that President Trump has said if Iran keeps on shooting its ships or if they engage in any other hostile act, then we're going to hit them back. Rachel?
Right now, no end in sight. Okay, Martha, thank you. Now to the family of Nolan Wells seeking transparency and closure. In an emotional new interview, his parents speaking out for the very first time about his death and the investigation. Our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, has more.
Tonight, the anguished family of a Mississippi teen who mysteriously died while boating July 4th is demanding a thorough and transparent investigation.
We just want to know. We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home.
18-year-old Nolan Wells took a boat with friends to Horn Island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Those friends told investigators Wells decided to stay behind. His body was found 2 days later.
We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group.
Police are looking at video posted to social media that the family says shows an argument involving Wells, but the contents are unclear. His mother told ABC News his phone was left behind and his Snapchat accounts were empty.
And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan
whenever he snaps. Like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos. Like there was absolutely nothing.
Tonight, the Sheriff's Department is asking the family to turn over the phone to investigators.
We're working towards the same goal as the family, okay? We want a thorough investigation.
Authorities believe Wells drowned, Rachel, and say so far there is no evidence of any foul play. But you heard his parents are skeptical, and they've sent their son's body for an independent autopsy. Rachel?
Yeah, an emotional interview. Okay, Aaron, thank you. Now to the Pentagon releasing its latest trove of files related to UFOs. The dozens of videos, images, and reports, some as recent as last year. Here's Perry Russell.
Tonight, the eerie new videos released by the Pentagon showing more of what the government calls unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs. 40 new files today, including 19 videos. One UAP described by a pilot as having flight characteristics unlike anything they had seen in their 28 years of military service. 2 encounters allegedly happening just last year. One video shows a UAP in the clouds, at times partially hidden. The camera follows it for just over 2 minutes. A second video shows what looks like a 6-pointed star bobbing in the skies above the Yellow Sea in Asia. Cameras zooming in on this UAP from 2020. A partially redacted Pentagon report says it was about 12 to 15 feet tall. In 2015, the U.S. military capturing a UAP speeding past their camera. 3 new pictures released, including this one taken on board the Columbia Space Shuttle in 1996, an object apparently floating in orbit around Earth. It's still not clear what any of these objects are. Rachel, so far the Pentagon has released more than 300 UAP files under a directive by President Trump. The Pentagon says more files are coming, Rachel.
Yeah, lots of interest in this. Okay, Perry, thank you. When we come back, a major reversal for the Apache pilots grounded after a July 4th flyover. An update tonight on the fast-spreading foodborne parasite sickening hundreds across the U.S. And a big breakthrough for China's space program that could rival America. Tonight, the 8 Apache pilots suspended after a viral 4th of July beach flyover are now back in the air. The Pentagon lifted the suspensions after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth vowed to fix the situation. The South Carolina National Guard says the pilots were temporarily grounded while officials reviewed the low-altitude pass during the annual Salute from the Shore event. Tonight, a major breakthrough for China's space program. China says it has successfully returned a reusable rocket booster. The booster was caught by a net on a floating platform, a first for an orbital flight. The achievement could challenge America's lead in reusable rocket technology pioneered by SpaceX and Blue Origin. When we come back, an important update on that foodborne parasite rapidly spreading across the U.S. To the index now, where tonight a foodborne parasite is rapidly spreading across the U.S. According to the CDC, cyclosporiasis has been reported in Michigan and at least 30 other states. Since May 1st, nearly 1,000 cases have been confirmed, and as of July 9th, another 1,500 are under investigation. The parasite spread through contaminated food or water can cause severe digestive issues. Tonight, a private royal reunion 4 years in the making. King Charles and Queen Camilla hosted Prince Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet at Highgrove House today. It's the first time the king has seen his grandchildren since 2022. No photos were released, with the palace calling it a private family gathering. When we come back, we remember aviation pioneer Wally Funk, the oldest woman ever to travel in space. Finally tonight, one last salute to an aviation pioneer.
Wally Funk waited 60 years to go to space, a journey that began in 1956 when she became a pilot at just 17. A few years later, in 1961, she became the youngest member of the Mercury 13, the first group of women to be put through rigorous astronaut training to test women's ability to go to space. They finished their training, but none of the women would ever fly. The program later canceled. Undeterred, Wally continued on, becoming the first female air safety investigator for the NTSB and the first female inspector for the FAA.
Wally!
And finally, 6 decades later,
Oh, honey, I couldn't be better.
Wally traveling into space. Joining the crew of New Shepard's Blue Origin with Jeff Bezos. At 82 years old, the woman who was told she couldn't be an astronaut because she was a girl, becoming the oldest woman ever to fly in space.
I loved every minute of it. I just wish it had been longer.
Wally Funk died Wednesday at her home in Texas. She was 87 years old.
Showing us it's never too late. I'm Rachel Scott. Thanks for watching. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted, most watched newscast in America. And now, World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 4th year in a row.